Hello, Miss Ambassador. Now we are at Embassy of French Republic, and we are interviewing you, reflecting the elections in the European Union, which ended in 8th of June. So my first question will be personal, exactly for you. Can you please describe your everyday routine as ambassador?
Yeah, pleasure. First, welcome to the French residency. As you can see, we are happy to have here in Riga one of very beautiful French embassies. It's a historical building, Latvian heritage, and we are very happy to be able to work in such an environment. So my everyday routine, being an ambassador is all being about contacts, is knowing what's going on in Latvia and being able to report to France the opinions, the trends, the ideas, the positions on European, on shared common interest issues, and also to be able to answer to anybody in Latvia about what's going on in France and what are our positions, our ideas on a number of subjects. So my day is usually, I'm trying usually to spend as much time meeting people, seeing people, being outside, consulting as much as possible. And there is no 2 days the same in this job, and that's really why it's nice, because you have extremely different fields of work in political affairs, a lot of EU consultations with our Latvian partners, but also on defense and security, on, I don't know, science and university cooperation, cultural affairs, consular affairs, because we have here a small French community and we have to service we give them public service that they can expect from the French state. So it's a very, very diverse job.
Thank you. What was your diplomatic journey to become a head of a political mission in Latvia?
I studied political science, and I studied also the Latvian language when I was a student. I have a long history with Latvia, as I came here for the first time when I was a student in 1992. I actually was in this room for the first time 32 years ago. And then when I joined the ministry, in France it's a contest you have to go through. Then I had a career mostly focused on European affairs and press and communication skills issues. But I've been in a long time, I had time to go to, I was posted in Africa twice, in Kenya, in Senegal. I was posted in Brussels on our permanent mission to EU. And I also had some moments outside of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I worked with ministers twice, with the Minister for Women's Rights for a while, and for our Minister for European Affairs. So I've done many different things, but I had always kept an idea that when the time would come for me to be an ambassador, when I would have enough, experience and skills to apply for ambassadors' postings, my first choice would be Latvia, and I was happy enough to be posted to Latvia for my first post as an ambassador.
It's very great to hear. What was your dream job when you were a child?
When I was a child, I wanted to be a writer. I was a reader as a child, and I was completely fascinated by her. But I had some very specific goals, because I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to be a Nobel Prize in literature, very modestly. Well, it turned out I didn't become a Nobel Prize in literature, but maybe I will have some time. But that was my idea as a child.
I think you have enough time to become.
I'm not sure I have the talent, but it was funny that I was very, very focused on that as a child. Yeah. It's still a family joke now.
Yeah, so let's move on to European election. What was your general overall opinion about European elections?
Well, it's always, I'm a very dedicated European, so it's always a matter for me of great, how can I say, I think it's always very emotional to see that in our union we managed to have this democratic rhythm, that we have elections all together. I think it's always quite moving to see that we are such different countries with such different histories, but what is common between us is so strong, and we can have these institutions that are solid. I was really happy to see that In France, the participation rate was a bit better than the last election. We were just above, I think it was 52, we were just above the last European Parliament election, which is good. We were quite happy also to see that the debate during the campaign, there were some really European issues that were debated, because it's always a risk to have a debate completely centered on domestic affairs, which is not the point. And we thought there were some moments of interesting debate on really the European Parliament areas and competence, and that people were starting maybe to understand more the sort of complex architecture of EU and see what you are doing when you are voting for your European parliamentarians. So I think we felt that there was this progress.
European elections have a very big impact on our countries as France and Latvia. What impact do you think these elections bring to France and to Latvia?
Well, as you know, the competence of the European Parliament have been growing, and it's now in many issues that the Union is dealing with. The European Parliament has a very strong point, and we can see that in areas that are critical at the moment, when our continent is facing a war of aggression in Ukraine, the role of the Parliament is important also on defense and security issues to give a direction. It's very important on some issues on the Green Deal, and it's something that is extremely important for our future. We don't have to look very far to see that we can feel the effect on climate, on agriculture, and that we all know that we need to transition in terms of our energy supplies, in terms of the sustainability of our economy, sustainability of our supplies in industry. So this is an area where the European Parliament is extremely important. On transport, we are here in the country where when the Rail Baltica railway is finished, it will be a massive, major impact on the transport, corridors in Europe, and it's also something on which the importance of the Parliament is great. So I think in our everyday life we can feel how important is the European Parliament. And I didn't mention artificial intelligence. I mean, some other places where we have a specific European view on it compared to our American partners, compared to China, which is a competitors with different values and different economic models. So we have to get together and as one strong union. And I think this issue of sovereignty is really something we need to work on together, and that's something that a new and strong European Parliament can do.
Yeah. Continue talking about sovereignty and foreign affairs, reflecting on elections. Can you say or can you see that Chinese or Russian impact was tangible?
In the elections?
Yeah, in the election results.
Well, obviously we have an issue with foreign interference in the electoral process. It's a bit everywhere. I couldn't tell you here now. We have had a number of but not specifically targeted the electoral processes. We have been very careful, and we have an agency in France dedicated to fighting all the deep fakes, all the manipulation of information that happens before the election, and that was a lot, and also all the cyber attacks on the different electoral systems that could happen, and we have been extremely careful to fight against these. There is always a risk that foreign powers are trying to interfere in the thing, and we see it all the time, not only on electoral processes, but in a general way on many things. This new hybrid warfare with a very strong use of information manipulations it is worrying. It is a trend, and we can fight through regulation, through debunking all the fakes, through also education and making sure that people, whatever their age, are able to recognize fake news, are able to recognize what are the sources that are that you can trust, that you can actually rely on, and what are the things that are more dubious. And also in terms of cyber attacks, we are really, I think, upgrading our system as most EU countries are doing, because we face an increased number of cyber attacks.
Can you please describe for people who are not into French politics what is happening right now? Because we see that President Macron dissolves parliament, and Ms. Le Pen also is talking a lot about her new party, her performance in the parliament.
What is happening is that in our constitution, the president has the possibility to dissolve the National Assembly. You know, we have our parliament is has two chambers, the Senate and National Assembly. And the president can dissolve the National Assembly, consulting with the Prime Minister, the head of the National Assembly, the head of the Senate, who are the sort of top jobs of the French Republic. And he can do so in between 20 to 40 days after. It can be calling snap elections, and that's what we are doing now. As you know, the president has party had a majority in the National Assembly, but a quite small majority, and it's uncommon in France, where usually we have a very most of the time the Assembly has a very strong majority, and he felt that after this European election, where the extreme right party of Marine Le Pen and Bardella, I can't remember his first name, they had 30%. So the president felt that after the way the French voters expressed themselves, there was a need for clarification and to see if this was confirmed by the electors. So he's calling for an election. It's going to happen very soon now. The first round will be in less than 2 weeks now, in 10 days. And the second round beginning of July. It's what we call the majority with 2 rounds. So we have two different Sundays of election. And then we'll have a new National Assembly and see how it goes.
Okay. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you, and good luck with this very nice project.
Thank you.